Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of the analysis series, and today I'll be bringing you to, not EOK and not Chuan Park, but today we'll be touching on Nava Grove. I promise you that EOK and Chuan Park will be coming soon. Okay, so for Nava Grove is actually situated at District 21. It's actually right beside Pinetree, which I will draw out later for you. It's actually developed by MCL, one of, again, our Band 1 developer in Singapore. Preview launch date will be on the 2nd to 12th of November, and the booking date is actually on the 16th of November. And this is actually one of the illustration of how Nava Grove actually looks like. So District 21 is actually located around the Upper Bukit Timah, the Holland area. So we are talking about the Pandan Valley area and Mount Sinai area. Okay, so next, this is how the project looks like. 3 majestic blocks, 552 units, 3 blocks of 24-story high. And actually below here, right, there is already a decked up, so it's even higher than that. It stretches from 2-bedder all the way to 5-bedder premium with lift. Unfortunately for this project, we don't have 1-bedder or 1+ study, which I will dive into the layouts right after this. TOP is 2028 November. Okay, so next we will be moving on to the location map area. Alright, so for location map area, okay, so this is actually where the site is located. Site itself is actually closer to Dover MRT and also Clementi MRT, but you can see that it's still a short drive towards these 2 MRT. So we are not like projects maybe like Chuan Park, right outside your project you already get an MRT. This one is actually a short distance away. But later, after this, we'll be covering whether MRT is super necessary and will MRT actually fetch you a much higher profit. So stay tuned for that. So right now, next to it, I'll be sharing with you that Nava Grove is actually in the new educational zone, which is the education belt. So this is actually where the site is. We are actually 1 kilometer to Henry Park Primary School and Pei Tong Primary School. On top of these 2 primary school, I think we are also pretty near MGS. We are also near Pei Hua Presbyterian School, Primary School. We are also near Nanhua Primary, Clementi Primary. So there are actually multiple primary school actually near your condo itself. And then further down south, we actually get your Singapore Polytechnic. You get your NUS High, Nanhua High, School of Science and Technology, Fairfield Methodist is over here. You got your international school like ACSI, UWC, and Dover Court International School. So you can see that we are actually surrounded by all this kind of school, and especially for international school is very important because a lot of them are actually looking at rental, maybe in the nearby area. Alright, so next we will be moving on to business parks. Other than schools, we are also pretty much close to 2 big business park, which is the International Business Park over here that is closer towards the west side, and also One North Business Park where you get your Metrolopolis, Biolopolis, where all the grade A offices are. On top of that, if you go actually further north a bit from this direction, you get Jurong East, which is your second CBD to come. So you are technically situated in a location that is pretty close to a lot of international business park, which also means that in terms of rental, I think in terms of rental, it might be quite strong in this area as well. Although I got to say that for Ulu Pandan area, right, to me it's very much own stay because you get all your greens in this area. It's very private. You are actually surrounded by CBD in this area. Next, we will be moving on to the malls, retail and dining. I think this is more important than business parks and school for most of you. So for our site location, we are actually just a short drive towards Sunset Way. That would be the closest one. If you take a 5 minutes drive down, of course I got to say, based on the previous episode, right, I got to say that distance is relative. So depends on whether you walk fast, walk slow, drive fast, drive slow. So please give a plus and minus. So if you are driving this way down, about 5 minutes, you actually reach King Mall Market and Food Centre, where it's very local. If not, 4 minutes drive takes you about to Holland V, and about 8 minutes drive to Star Vista. So we are right in the midst of where all the Holland Village are and the Clementi area as well. So next, more in-depth, if you want a bit more atas food, you can go to Dempsey Hill, 8 minutes drive. Orchard Road is just about a 12 minutes drive. And then on top of that, Holland Village is about 4 to 6 minutes drive, which I went through. And Clementi, again, Clementi Mall and Clementi Market, 4 minutes drive, which is closer to the Sunset Way, that area. So again, these are just some breakdown. If you want, you can actually pause and take a screen grab and things like that. So now, this is actually how it looks like on the 21st story, looking out towards the Ulu Pandan. Over here, I will be attaching a video so you can actually watch it through. Alright. Right. So now I'll be touching on whether closer to MRT, if your project is closer to MRT, can you actually make more money? Because do take note, earlier on I already mentioned to you that for Nava Grove, we're actually beside Pinetree Hill, but basically these two different projects, right? We are not exactly super near MRT. It's still a short distance away that you probably have to travel like 15 to 17 minutes kind of walk, or maybe a 4-minute kind of drive to reach the nearest MRT. So does a project being closer to MRT actually make you more money? So today we will be looking at two examples. First example is actually Principal Garden versus Alex Residence, and if you do not know, this is actually located in District 3, which is near to Red Hill MRT. So for Alex, right, it looks like that. It's one block itself, and the facilities are all divided in the different levels. They are about a 3 minutes short walk to MRT. This is literally a stone throw away. So further in, you actually get the Principal Garden, which is about 17 minutes walk to MRT. So do note that there's multiple blocks and there are actually landscape on the ground level. So looking at this, we can understand that Alex Residences, right, they actually it has a closer proximity to the MRT, whereas Principal Garden is much further away. So when it comes to resale, right, how does it perform? How will they perform? So now let's look at two-bedder in terms of profit. So I won't dive into the details. You can actually again pause and look at the figures, or you can drop me a message if you want me to go in depth into this. But today's topic is actually very long, so I'll go quicker into this. So for example, for Alex Residences, they purchase in at 1721 PSF, and when they sell, it's actually at 2100 PSF. In terms of profit, the highest profit made for two-bedder type, you're looking at about 248,000 thereabout. And for 248,000 for a two-bedder this kind of size is actually quite a good profit gain. But looking at this Principal Garden that is actually 17 minutes walk away from MRT, same two-bedder, of course this is slightly bigger. In terms of purchase price, it's 1628 PSF, and when they sell, it's actually at 2304 PSF. The profit for two-bedder, highest profit is about 537,000, sorry. And this is so much more significantly higher than actually Alex Residences. And we are talking about one that is further away, one that is nearer to MRT. So does having an MRT that is super near, is it really important, and does it guarantee you a very big profit? Actually not necessary, because a lot of things can come into play, like how do you feel about this place? For Alex Residences, I mean, I've been to both projects personally. Alex Residences, right, they don't have a lot of landscape. Like I say, it's just one building and most of the facilities on different level. From what I understand from Singaporean buyers, most of them actually prefer those with landscape, a little bit more like a like a family area, function room, pool. The moment you go downstairs, you can see everything, a lot of landscape, a lot of area to walk your dogs and all. And this is what Principal Garden actually can give you. But Alex Residences, maybe not so much. So the vibe itself is very different. Not forgetting, we also need to understand what kind of buyers are actually looking, in this area. Whether are they looking for more own stay, rental, whether is it need MRT or don't need MRT. So these are also very important touch point. So this is just one example. Now let's dive into the second example. Second example is closer to my home, although I don't stay in District 19, but this one is actually the Sengkang, Punggol, Hougang area. So we take again, Sengkang Residences, which is over here, versus Riverfront Residences that is over here. For Sengkang Residences, right, is actually Sengkang Grand Residences is actually a condo that is situated right on top of Sengkang Grand Mall, almost like a full-fledged mall, many multiple F&Bs. It's connected directly to Buangkok MRT station, meaning to say you don't even need to walk outside. It's directly connected, almost directly connected, and there is a hawker center over there. So actually it is super convenient, actually more convenient than Alex Residences that we mentioned earlier on. Riverfront, on the other hand, in Chinese, last time I heard this 4 words called 鸟不生蛋, but actually it's not that bad, okay? Riverfront Residences is situated here. Of course, on level 1, you do get like your NTUC, smaller scale one, vegetable and fruit stall, things like that. It's actually very self-sufficient, but you're located near a canal, or rather a park area, connecting you to, on top is Punggol. If you ride or you cycle and all, you will know this area quite well. But other than that, if you want to walk to the MRT, which is your nearest, is Hougang MRT, it takes you about 17 minutes to 18 minutes good walk over there. Of course, there is a side gate over here. So looking at this, obviously most people would prefer Sengkang Grand Residences because it's very convenient, right? That's why in terms of launch price, you can see that they are actually launched about a year apart. But for Sengkang Grand Residences, the launch price is 1,750. Whereas for Riverfront, the launch price is so much lower at 1,322 average lah. So there are actually units that are transacting about 1,002 plus as well. For Sengkang Grand, I think towards the end, it even reached to the 2,000 PSF, that sort of range. So let's see the profit. This time round, we'll be looking at 4-bedder instead. So for 4-bedder Riverfront Residences, the one that I say Niao Bu Shen Dan, right? They're a bit further away. So we are talking about like a 4-bedder, purchase in 1,326 PSF, but sale price 1,872 PSF. A profit of about $810,000. That's a lot in terms of profit, even for a 4-bedder. So now let's compare this with Sengkang Grand Residences. Okay, Sengkang Grand Residences bought in, of course, is much higher, 1,761. And when it sell, okay, they are still doing much better than Riverfront, 1,927, still higher. But you look at the amount of profit, because they're buying so much higher, the profit reduced significantly. We are looking at 217,000 thereabout. So next page is basically the summary of it all. So one is Sengkang Grand, profiting about 200 over 1,000 versus Riverfront profiting around 500 over 1,000, and the difference between these two is about 365,000. So basically, Riverfront Residences 4-bedder actually performed 168% more in terms of profit than Sengkang Grand Residences, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is, yes, having a MRT nearby definitely give you the convenience. I mean, this one no-brainer, right? If so long as you're closer to MRT, you're more well connected to anything, even to any mall. Even if, let's say, your MRT station has no mall, you take a few stops, there will be malls and market as well. Very convenient. But does it actually give you a higher profit or guarantee you a higher profit all the time? Not necessarily. So a lot of time, like what I mentioned, it really depends on, like, for example, the type of profile of buyers that is in that area. To be very frank, actually Pinetree Hill and Nava Grove, right, because they are located in this Pandan Valley, Mount Sinai area, right, actually a lot of them, they are not really looking at MRT. They like that area for the exclusivity, and that you are near the GCB area, you are near the, you know, Clementi Forest, that sort of area. So they like the serenity and not so much on the MRT. So like what I mentioned, being near MRT doesn't always guarantee you a higher profit all the time. Okay, so right, let's move on. Next, I'll be showing you guys a superimpose of the site map itself into the street directory map. So as you can see here, we are actually close to the Ulu Pandan Road. This whole area is actually the Clementi Forest area, which I always want to hike, but I haven't had the time. And then further up is actually the Bukit Timah Hill area. You have your Dover Forest over here. So you are basically surrounded by a lot of greens, at least for now. Okay, and right beside here is actually the Pinetree Hill, which just launched not too long ago as well. And then surrounding it usually are the older condos like Pine Grove. Pine Grove, this area, right, they are actually of a shorter blocks because they are strata landed. This area is slightly on the higher end. Okay, but if you pass certain level, you will be able to still see the unblockness in it. So which I will go through with you later. So if I zoom in to have a look, right, just to highlight to you, this is actually the entrance coming in from Pine Grove. This is where you enter your project, and then you have 3 different blocks over here up to 24-story. This side you are facing obviously the forest view. This side you are facing the interior view and also the forest view. So actually this view stack is one of the better facing. And then this one also interior to the landed and also the forest view. This side, of course, you will be looking at Pine Grove. Some of them, they are actually lower level. So if you cross like maybe level 4 or 5, you actually do get a bit of a far and unblocked view already. So I will go through with you more in depth later. Oh, so the next slide, straight away. So level 24, the Police Keynes training camp is actually on the lower rise. This area is actually where all the Clementi forests are. And over here is a Pandan Valley, 14 level. This will be the highest, which is Trizon. The rest is so long as you clear 16, pretty much you actually got a very far view. In fact, if you clear level 6, you actually got a really, really far view if you're facing this direction already. Okay, so next is actually the site map with the facility. This one I really won't go through in detail. If you are interested, let me know. I can send you the whole deck itself. Okay, so few things to highlight is, of course, the main entrance is this area. More importantly, you want to know where's the site gate, right? So the side gate is actually located here and over here. Okay, so this is the Ulu Pandan Road area. Of course, this is the Clementi Forest, just to reorientate you again. More importantly is gym. If let's say you are a gym fanatic and all, then it's located right over here. You have a tennis court On top of that, you have a multi-purpose court, and usually sometimes it's badminton court and all. A bit more interesting is you have a forest dining and media room, which is at a level 2 of this area. Other than that, I think pretty much this area is the barbecue pit and the glamping pavilion. The rest is pretty much all the simple stuff like your pool, changing room, kids pool and all. If you want to know more, just give a shout out. I will send it over to you. Okay, again, I think the project itself has been divided into different zones. Your arrival zone, your play area, your entertainment zone, your wellness area, and your forest zone. Alright, so in terms of split, like I mentioned, 2-bedder all the way to 5-bedder with private lift. Even the 4-bedder comes with a few types. Some comes with private lift. You have a dual key, which I will touch on later, and you have the normal 4-bedder. Okay, so next is the same thing. So all this, if you need, right, I will actually pack it together and send it over to you. So straight away, without any further ado, let's go into 2-bedder. So for 2-bedder, there are various types. First type is actually what we call the 2-bed 1-bath, right? 2-bed 1-bath over here. For this project, like I mentioned, we don't have any 1+ study or 1-bedder. This is the smaller type, 624 square feet. We have them in 4 stacks, 96 units in total, about 17.4% of the whole project. So we have it here, this two, 17 and 14. Okay, just want to highlight to you that the center of every block, right, are usually the smaller unit. Most of the time, developer will build the bigger unit, at the site because it can accommodate more windows and all. So just take note. So for this 17 and 24 is over here. If you are on a higher level, you are technically looking at the Clementi Forest, Bukit Timah Hill. Fantastic view. Then you have again the other 2 stack, which is 1 and 8 over here, which is looking at Pine Grove. But of course, if you are further up, you are looking at the lawn, the Dover Forest and NUS area. So for this floor plan itself, you can see this is actually your entryway. The moment you enter, the DB box is actually tucked at one side. Then you have the storage, which is over here. So like a mini storeroom where you can put all your Dyson and all. It has a tuck away kitchen, so it's not the open concept kind. If you want, you can actually have slidable door to enclose your kitchen, but I wouldn't really recommend because you don't really have a window over here unless your hood is a very, very good hood. Then we have a dining space, which is good enough because you can actually position it this way as well, because there is actually a wall over here. Jack and Jill kind of concept, very smart. So when you have friends over and they are dining over here, they don't need to walk into your master bedroom to access the toilet. They can actually access from here because there's 2 doors. So other than that, master bedroom, full height window because it's RC ledge. Then your balcony area, the view is basically like this, because this is actually a solid wall. And then of course you have your bedroom too, which is half window because your aircon ledge is over here. So generally that's the layout. Next we look at 2-bedder premium. For 2-bedder premium, slightly bigger, this is what we considered to put it in simple layman term, 2-bed 2-bath. Okay, so there is 2 different type. I believe there's 2 different type of 700 square feet. So 48 units each. You are looking at about 8.7% in the whole development, slightly lower than the just now that 2-bed 1-bath. Stack 9 and 16 is actually located over here. So you are actually looking towards the lawn, Dover Forest, Pine Grove, that area. So what's difference is when you come in, the store area is not so big, slightly not so squarish, slightly more rectangularish. Kitchen, same thing, tucked at one side. You still have this wall for the dining, but not as big. This is actually slightly shorter. Now you have 2 bathroom, basically master bath and bathroom 2. So for this one, as compared to other projects that I've shared recently, just to take note that the kitchen and the master and all the bathroom do not come with window for this 2-bedder type. Okay, next we will be going into BP2. BP2 is exactly the same size. In fact, the layout is almost exactly identical. It's just on the flip side. In terms of stack, they are on the stack 12 and stack 21. I think both of this stack should have a premium because stack 21, you're looking at the pool, which is the inner facing, really, really nice pool. And all the way, if you're higher up, you can see the lawn, Dover Forest area. And if you are at 12, then you are looking at Clementi Forest. And on top of that, you get a lot of landscape before you reach the road and then before you reach the Clementi Forest. So I think in terms of asking price, maybe there might be a bit of premium to this. Same thing, all bathroom and kitchen don't have windows. Next, we go into 2-bedder plus study. So just now we spoke of the normal 2-bedder. We have 2 of the 2-bedder premium, and this is 2 plus study, which is slightly bigger. So now instead of 700 square feet, we are looking at about 786 square feet. Same thing for the 8 units, about 8.7%, stacked 4 and 5. So for this one, of course, you have additional of study area over here. The moment you come in, you don't see your DB box or storeroom. Your DB box and storeroom is actually hidden behind your kitchen. But I feel that this kitchen is maybe slightly a little bit smaller. Seems from this floor plan lah, but actual size I don't have it yet. Then for dining area, do take note you do not have that kind of back wall as well. So the moment you come in, you get to see your dining and your living already. Of course, you have your 2 toilet, but even for this layout, which is the 2 plus study, you don't have any windows in all the bathroom and also the kitchen area. So take note of that. Next, I'll be sharing with you an interesting topic. So Tana estimated launch price. Okay, and I'll explain to you how I actually derive these numbers. So basically, it all depends on the harmonization and non-harmonization. Very interesting topic, but I'm not going to touch too much on this. If you want to know a little bit more, reach out to me and I'll send you the video that I've done for that. Basically, it's the Lentor Mansion video because they are the first project that actually kickstart the being harmonized. Alright, so I will be comparing this a lot because Nava Grove is similar. It's also a harmonized project, and right beside us is actually Pinetree here, which is non-harmonized. And so basically, in short, developer last time when before the harmonization begin, the non-harmonized part, developer actually sell the unit. The PSF itself actually includes all the aircon ledges or like maybe your the void area and things like that. So during this period of time, you do see certain projects with actually bigger aircon ledges. I don't want to mention the name of the project. Eventually, there's a rule that came out to make things easier across all the different government boards regarding calculation of this GFA. So the first project is actually Lentor Mansion that take the lead. So we can see from here, right, Lentor Mansion, actually the land price is slightly lower than Lentoria. So a lot of people will be saying that during that period of time, there's this debate, the land price is slightly cheaper. So actually we wait for this because the PSF will be lower. Not necessarily, because you have to put yourself in a developer's position. Last time when I sell you the house, actually I can sell you aircon ledges, but now I cannot sell you aircon ledge already. So I have to kind of make up my cost in another way, right? So unfortunately, a lot of way, it will be the PSF law. So that's why the PSF is actually slightly higher than Lentoria, even given that the land price is slightly lower. So taking this into consideration, and we apply it onto Nava Grove and Pinetree, because again, we are side by side. This is also almost side by side. And they just launched actually, I think Lentor Mansion should be this year. Lentoria also earlier this year. So given the same situation, let's plonk it in. We are looking at a difference of 22.4%, and we take the same difference of 22.4% and work out this average PSF on launch day, given that they are looking at the same kind of difference in terms of pricing. So that is how we actually derive that maybe the estimated launch price for 2-bedder might be around the 2667 range. Personally, I think that, I heard about like it being 25, 26 or 27. So 26 is pretty much average, but I would say that I think, don't quote me wrong, it might be around 2005 lah, if I'm not wrong. So now let's look at comparison between 2-bed 1-bath and between the 2-bed 1-bath. Like I mentioned earlier on, for this project, I will take a lot of comparison with Pinetree Hill, because technically speaking, you're almost around the same age and it's just beside you. Next time when you're about to sell, right, buyers in the area, they will also take Pinetree Hill as comparison. Like when I want to buy Nava Grove, the next place that I'll be looking at is Pinetree Hill, because everywhere else is old. So yeah, so this is actually the 2-bedder 2-bed 1-bath difference between Nava Grove 624 square feet and Pinetree Hill 700 square feet. So just now, based on whatever that we've derived, which is around 2667 thereabout, right? So I actually give a different variation in terms of PSF over here. So we have the 2500 PSF to about 2,700 PSF. So if Nava Grove is within this kind of PSF range for a 2-bedder, you are looking at a price between 1.56 million to about 1.68 million. So now let's look at Pinetree Hill. The current transaction in the area is already 1.6 all the way to 1.72, which is higher than the amount that we come out with for Nava Grove. So given this situation, then I will go for the 624 square feet, because in terms of size, it's actually much smaller, but they are actually very similar. This one, the DB box is actually over here. They give you this extra space that you can convert it into a store area. or if not like an additional small study area. The layout wise, kitchen is almost identical, and then master bedroom as well, living room as well, and then with the common bedroom as well. So in terms of the layout wise, nothing much of a difference, just slightly bigger size, but in terms of quantum, it's actually much bigger. So I will go for the Nava Grove 624 square feet. Now let's look at the 2-bedder comparison. For 2-bedder comparison, I'll be taking Nava Grove 2-bed 1-bath versus Pinetree Hill 2-bed 1-bath. Nava Grove 2-bed 2-bath versus Pinetree Hill 2-bed 1-bath as a comparison. So using the same kind of logic earlier on, the breakdown of prices, this time round, because 700 square feet, like I mentioned earlier just now, some of them actually get a bit of a premium view, so we added $50 PSF to it. So we are looking at 2450 to about 2650. You are looking at the range of 1.715 million to 1.855 million over here. Okay, 700 square feet. Then we compare to the 2-bed 1-bath. This one is 1-bath, 700 square feet, which we compared just now with our 2-bed 1-bath as well. We also can see that the price itself is 1.69 all the way to 1.70. It's slightly cheaper, but in terms of toilet wise, you are missing out a whole toilet over here, because this one only got one toilet. So looking at this, right, because they are in terms of square feet is the same, in terms of layout, this actually has a slightly better layout because it's a 2-bed 1-bath as compared to a 2-bed 2-bath as compared to a 2-bed 1-bath. So I will also go for this option. So now let's dive into the 2-bedder plus study comparison. So this time round, I'll be taking Nava Grove 2-bed plus study versus Pinetree Hill 2-bed plus study. Okay, so you can see that in terms of size, they are pretty much similar. Nava Grove is slightly smaller in terms of size. Layout wise, actually, it's quite similar as well, but I'll go through with you where's the difference. For 2-bed plus study in Pinetree Hill, the recent transacted price you're looking at is about 2.038 to about 2.066, still within the 2.0 plus range. But for Nava Grove, like similar like what we did earlier on, we did the same calculation from 2450 to about 2650 PSF. You're looking at a range from 1.925 to about 2.082. Very, very similar to Pinetree Hill. Given these two kind of prices, actually they are quite neck and neck, but I will still go for the Pinetree Hill 2-bed plus study because of the layout. So this one is actually slightly bigger in my own opinion, this one. The moment you come in the kitchen, you realize that it's actually slightly longer as compared to the kitchen over here. Okay, and then another thing to take note that this study area is actually very, very long area. If you don't need such a big study, you can actually corner this study area out, or you can change this to like a storage area. Okay, and this whole area is actually very spacious, as you can see. So you can actually have a bigger dining space as well that stretches all the way over here. But other than that, actually pretty much is quite similar to Nava Grove. So it really depends on the launch day, what is the price of Nava Grove. But looking at this, if let's say the price itself is about 2650, about 2.082, and we still have remaining unit in Pinetree that is going at 2.066, 2.038, then I would say go for this lah, because you know you have a slightly bigger kitchen, and also you get to TOP earlier as well. Okay, so now let's look at our top choice 2-bedder. This one is just a recap for Nava Grove only. So for Nava Grove, let's say if you're looking at investment, I will go for the 624 square feet. A bit no-brainer because it's smaller in size. In terms of quantum, it will be slightly lower, and then it's the only 2-bed plus 1-bath, layout in the development as well. But if you're looking for own stay, I would say that because for the 2-bed plus study, I say actually go for the Pinetree. So for own stay, if you're looking at Nava Grove, I would say go for the 700 square feet. And I would say go for the BP2 instead of BP1, because BP2 is actually the very nice internal view before it stretches out to the forest view. Okay, so that is our short list for this Nava Grove. Next, we will be moving on to 3-bedder. Okay, now let's dive into 3-bedders. 3-bedder gets a bit confusing because there's multiple different layouts. For the compact wise, okay, so I'll go through with you layout by layout first. So this is actually our first layout, type C1, smallest size, 947 square feet. We have 42 units of them. They are situated over here, which is stack 13. Which is a very, very nice facing. You're facing the pool, the landscape and all before you reach the road, and then you reach the Clementi Forest and Bukit Timah Hill area, right? And then you have another one, stack 20, same thing, pool facing. This one might be quite nice because it's just fully pool facing, you don't get, so inner facing, you don't actually get all the forest view and all. In terms of layout, this layout is the one that I don't like the most actually for compact. Okay, but I'll explain why. The moment you go in over here, you have this awkward area where you turn, so it feels like a bit of a kitchen walkway wastage to me. Then you have this store area that is over here and a DB box that is over here. Most of the time, kitchen for 3-bedder, a lot of time is pretty much quite bright because you allow the light to go in. But this one, I believe it's actually a wall. So your light actually, it's from here. Actually, basically, it's your light lah, like literally your kitchen light. Otherwise, if you off your kitchen light, I think it's going to be completely dark because there is actually, unfortunately for this size, take note, there is no window. Unless you hack this away and change it to a full glass. If not, it's going to be dark. In my opinion, right? So that is one. But I think interesting thing is the dumbbell layout again. Like what I say, some people like dumbbell for 3-bedder. A lot of time, if you are buying a 3-bedder for own stay, you might not like dumbbell because again, when you come in the house, you can see almost everything already, right? So lesser privacy. But this is quite smart because the toilet is situated here, right? It's a bit of a Jack and Jill. So over here, it's as though it is like a junior master. So I think that is the pro. Con-wise, like I mentioned, dumbbell layout lah. So it depends on whether you like it or not. Pros, also efficient planning. Sorry, this is supposed to go over here. Okay, and lesser privacy because the moment you're here, you get to see everything. So basically, this is your C1. Now I'll move on to C2, which is more of my preferred layout lah, because it's a bit more private. I'm very traditional like that. So for traditional layout, the moment you go in, all the rooms are actually tucked at one side. Over here, I think you get full privacy because the moment you come in, you can actually put a painting over here. You can actually put some shoe racks over here. It's very, very private. Your store area, you don't have a bomb shelter, you don't have a storeroom, but you actually have a smaller store area over here. As compared to C1, right, wow, this kitchen is so much better because once you come in, it's like there's no wastage of space, I feel. And this one is actually a transparent window, transparent glass, so that the light from the balcony can actually shine through and penetrate through and make your whole kitchen very, very spacious and bright. On top of that, you actually do have your kitchen window over here. C1 don't have window. Yeah, no window in bathroom, no window in kitchen. Yeah. For this one, you actually get your window in the bathroom, master bath, your bath, and also your kitchen area. So I would think that this is, in my opinion, slightly better than C1 lah. For C3, and in terms of size, slightly bigger, 990. Okay. In terms of C3, size is exactly the same. 24 units of them. In terms of stack, they are over here, stack 23. Okay, so this is facing the Clementi Forest, Bukit Timah Hill, that area. Lesser privacy because you don't have a bigger foyer. It's just the moment you enter, you can see your living space. Traditional layout, you have a proper kitchen, which is good. I just want to highlight that for 990 square feet, right, even for some of the new launch that I went through recently, like Norwood Grand and things like that, right, generally they already have either a study room or utility room or storeroom. But unfortunately for this 990 layout, don't have, but you do have the small storage over here. More space is actually given to the internal part of the house. So it depends whether you like it or not. Some people really need the storeroom, right? So that's one thing to highlight. Okay, and then now, okay, let's look at 3-bedder estimated launch price. We are using the same logic, the harmonized and the non-harmonized again, from what we have from Lentoria, and applied it onto Lentoria and Lentor Mansion, and applied it onto Pinetree and Nava Grove. So now we are looking at a slightly higher PSF, about 2761. But again, this is just an estimated launch price. I still feel that it's going to be slightly lower than this. Yeah. Okay, so now let's look at the floor plan itself right now. Okay, so right now we are comparing between C1 and actually C2, which is the C1, which is what I mentioned earlier on. In terms of kitchen, I don't like this wasted space. There is actually no window, no window, no window here. Same thing, we use the comparison from 2005 as a guide mark all the way to 2006 to 2007 for you to visualize. So for 947 square feet at 2,500 PSF, which I think it will be closer to this range, you're looking at about $2.367 million. Given the same calculation, we are applying on 990, which I think is better because, kitchen is brighter. You have all the necessary windows in all the kitchen and toilets. So if you're looking at this area, this 990 square feet multiplied by 2,500 PSF, you're looking at about 2.475 million. So we are looking at paying a premium of close to about 100,000, 100 odd thousand for all these important windows and also a better kitchen area and a better layout. I asked my own colleague whether they will get this or not. Everyone agreed that we will actually go for this as compared to this one, because next time when you're selling, right, especially for 3-bedder buyer, all this kind of window thing, you might think that it's not necessary, but it's actually very important to them because ventilation is very important. How the layout is like is also very important. So paying about 107,000 more, $107,000 more for upgrade in terms of size and a better layout, I will go for this. Okay, next we look at 3-bedder premium. This one is a little bit more challenging because 3-bedder premium we actually have multiple kind of layout, but they are all about the same, similar. We have one that is 1098 square feet. We have 3 other that is 1109 square feet, exactly the same size. Okay, in terms of whatever things that they have, like the bedder type, storeroom, dry and wet kitchen, extra WC, pretty much they are the same. So looking at this overall picture, let me highlight to you where's the difference. Okay, so for C2 itself, you can see that in terms of foyer, it is a bit less private as compared to like maybe C3 lah. Okay, slightly smaller foyer also. The thing to highlight is I don't really like this layout because for the RC latch, I don't know why they need to do this thing over here. So you can see it's actually additional wall. So if you're looking at here, looking out, right, you can see the far view, but if you're looking at this angle, you technically see a wall. Okay, so this is one thing to highlight, but other than that, everything else stays pretty much the same. For C3 itself, they have a longer foyer, so slightly more private. Same thing, dry and wet kitchen, everything else. The balcony itself is the thing that I want to highlight. So over here, you can see a wall also. So basically, your view for your balcony is actually only like this. As compared to like maybe your CP1, you actually get your full view. Okay, maybe your CP4 you also get your full view, even your C2 you also get your full view. So this one is a little bit blocked on this end, but it's a little bit more private lah, private. So for CP4, this one slightly longer foyer. This is actually more squarish, right? This is slightly longer, but good thing for CP3 and CP4 is that the window over here, you don't have this kind of additional wall. So basically when you look out, right, you look at every angle, it's actually pretty much super unblocked. So actually this one, in terms of this area, is the nicest. This also. Okay, so now that you've understand a bit, I go more in depth into every single one of them. So for this Pro, of course, it's a smaller 3-bedder premium. In terms of quantum, might be maybe a bit lower. It comes with a dry and wet kitchen. Okay, not every 3 premium actually comes with a dry and wet kitchen, but I noticed that this is something, it's like a trend these days. So they have that. More importantly, windows, okay, in all the necessary place. For 3 premium, as compared to the 3 compact, of course, now you have a bomb shelter lah, which is more important if let's say your family is a growing family, right? You need that. You have a bit of a private foyer. You can put a painting over here, and you have a third WC. Third WC is not super important to me, but when I speak to my clients or like my colleagues and all, so long as you are a growing family, you have a helper, they insist that having a third WC is very important. So if you, let's say you don't need a third WC, like maybe your helper share the toilet with you guys, then you can actually change this WC. You can remove the WC and change it to a storage area lah. So it's up to you. In terms of stack, they are over here, okay, and facing to the Clementi Forest and the Bukit Timah Hill area. So for CP2, this is the one that I don't quite like because of this additional wall in this area. So it is 1109 square feet. It has a dry and wet kitchen. Same thing, it has a storeroom right now and private sort of foyer still, and also a third toilet. Okay, and then C3, I think I mentioned earlier on already, this is the one that I don't quite like, but other than that, everything remains about the same. Okay, in terms of view, it is actually north side towards the Clementi Forest. Sorry, just now the CP2, right, the facing is actually towards the Pine Grove facing. Okay, so now let's go to CP4. CP4 facing is also the Pine Grove facing. Further up, if you are higher up, you are looking at the lawn, Dover Forest and NUS. So for this one, I quite like it because you actually get the full view of here as well. Pretty much they are very similar in terms of layout lah, Okay, if you want the layout, floor plan and all, let me know. I will send it to you. But more importantly, I think the next topic is very interesting. Again, we are going to take in Pinetree Hill as a comparison, and this time round in for 3-bedder premium. And I think one very big topic that I want to show you is the price gap over here. Okay, so for Nava Grove 3 Beta Premium, you're looking at about the size 1098 to 1109. Okay, pretty much very, very decent size. However, for Pinetree Hill, all their 3 Beta Premium is actually from 1216 square feet. Then you see there's actually a disparity over here. One is 1098, the other one is actually 1216 square feet, and that is actually a very big jump in terms of square feet and maybe in terms of quantum as well. Okay, so for Nava Grove, right, let's just use the same kind of a new launch price guide, right? From 2005 to 2007, you are looking at paying about 2.745 to about 2.964, that sort of range. Okay, but if you're looking at the 3 Beta in Pinetree Hill itself, 1216 square feet, starting from right now, this is the current unit that is selling 0209, cheapest unit for a 3 Beta Premium. You are already looking at $2.95 million. So looking at this comparison, 2.95 and also between 2.55 to the 2.745, you're looking at close to about a 200,000 difference in terms of premium to get this one, and this is only level 2. This one maybe you can get a slightly higher level. So we do see that there is this price gap in the area for between Nava Grove and Pinetree Hill. Just imagine next time when you TOP already and you're selling, you are also 3 Beta Premium. Your Pinetree Hill competitor is also 3 Beta Premium, but it's actually at a much bigger size. Next time the quantum might be higher. The premium that they are paying might be also higher. So a lot of people will fall back to this Nava Grove. So in a way, looking at this in a future aspect, I also think that this is the unit that you should look into for 3 Beta Premium. Okay, so now let's look at 3 Beta Premium 1109 versus 1216. Again, same thing, the price gap is going to be there, just that of course 1109 in terms of size slightly bigger, so in terms of gap slightly lower, but still, given this, I will still choose this one. In terms of price gap, in terms of next time future buyers looking at this kind of area, they might be more interested in this than in this. Okay, of course, layout wise a little bit of difference lah, but this one actually you get a dry kitchen, this one you get a wet kitchen, but this one there's no wet and dry. This one is just kitchen and a yard, and then the study area is actually tucked at this side over here. Okay, that's why in terms of size it's slightly bigger, because it's actually a 3 plus study, whereas for this one it's actually quite simple. It's actually just a 3 premium. Okay, so next we will be going into versus in the Nava Grove area, 1098 square feet versus 1109 square feet. Basically, they are all premium layout. This is actually the CP1 and this is the 234. Okay, so now let's look at in terms of facing. I think in terms of facing, I don't need to go through already lah. I think you already know that if you're this side facing, likely you're looking at Clementi Forest, Bukit Timah Hill. If you're closer to this area, which is the 5 Beta that I will touch on later, then you're lucky because you'll be looking into Clementi Forest and also a low-rise landed area. If you are looking at the back area, according to this, is Lawn, Dover Forest and US. Okay, if it's after 10 story, but if you are below, then you're looking at Pine Grove area lah. Okay, so now that we understand a little bit on the facing, which I've really went throughout the whole presentation, we will be looking at the difference in Nava Grove between the two different 3 Beta Premium size. Actually, they are very, very small difference. So 1098 versus 1109, and if you are using the same PSF of 2,500, the difference is actually only around 27,000 plus. So maybe 27,000 plus to 30,000 plus. But I will still go for this. Reason why is because smaller, quantum smaller. Actually, the layout is almost identical, not too much of a difference, just foyer area, right? And on top of that, this one actually gets a full balcony that I get to see nice view. This one actually there might be a bit of blockage. The other one you actually get blockage over here and all. So actually I will still go for CP1. Okay, so this one is actually easier to choose. Next, we'll be looking at 3 Beta versus 3 Premium. Okay, so for 3 Beta, right, if you are looking at Pinetree as an example, there are 3 compact, which is normal 3 Beta, is about 969 square feet. But their premium is so much bigger at 1,216 square feet. In terms of difference, we are just using this unit as example because they are in the same level and they are already transacted. So it's easy to make a reference of it. In terms of percentage difference, right, between the premium and the compact, you're looking at about 25% premium. Meaning to say that this person entering 1216 at level 6, which is a 3 premium, 25% higher than the 969 square feet owner, which is in the same level as well, 0620. So now let's apply this onto Nava Grove. If let's say, for example, I can get the 990 square feet, which is the layout that I like more, okay, multiply by $2,500, I get about 2.475. Similarly, I use it to multiply by the smaller, the premium type, right? You're looking at a difference of only 10%. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, if let's say you can find Nava Grove, and if let's say you have enough budget, you know, to stretch to maybe a premium, if you can find anything below 25%, which is the Pinetree one, it's actually a good buy for you to actually look into a slightly bigger 3-bedder premium kind of layout. Because in terms of floor plan, this one actually is a lot of changes already, because you actually get a dry and you get a wet kitchen, you get a third toilet, you get a storeroom area, and the price gap between the premium and the non-premium is actually quite low. I mean, based on this calculation, of course we have to see on that day, you know, what's the price gap difference, but you can see that based on Pinetree, the gap is already 25%. So if you're looking at anything below 25%, if there is anything on that day itself, 3 premium, that is below 25%, and you're able to stretch your quantum to a bit higher to match the 3 premium, I would say try to go for the 3 premium. Okay, finally we are at our 4-bedder, but we still have 5-bedder to go through. Okay, so for 4-bedder wise, similarly we are using the same logic over here for our 2 and 3-bedder and applying on 4-bedder. So we are looking at around estimated launch price of 2,729. Again, like I mentioned, this is an estimated based on harmonization and non-harmonization, so don't quote me for it. So now let's look at the D1 layout. So in terms of D1 layout, this is the 4-bedder base classic, okay, basic one. That is not dual key or premium in any way. So this one, the moment you come in, you actually get a more private foyer. You still get your dry and wet kitchen. One thing to highlight is your dining space suddenly become very long and very big already. Because why? 4-bedder, usually there's more people staying in the house, so the developer actually take this chance to actually cater more space for you to actually put in maybe an 8-seater dining. In fact, you can actually create a 10-seater one if you have that kind of foldable ones. Same thing, you have the storage area over here, you have a bomb shelter, you have a toilet over here. The additional one is actually the 4th bedroom over here, but I need you to take into consideration that this one, for the 4th bedroom, you actually get the window. The window is actually over here on this side. Okay, for the other 3-bedder, all the windows is actually facing this direction. So as you can see, this purple color thing over here, this is actually a wall also. So your balcony view is actually over here like this. Okay, so we have 23 units of such layout, and they are actually quite big, 1335 square feet. Okay, so some of the 4-bedder compact in other projects usually around the 1,002 range, right? So next, we are looking at D2, still the compact version, but I actually prefer the D1 than D2. Okay, tell you why. Because D1, you actually get this kind of full window width over here. But for D2, actually you notice, right, the window is much smaller over this side. This whole area is not a window. So in terms of layout, it's slightly more odd, because the moment your door open, you see your bed already. This one is when the moment the door open, a proper bed is over here, so you don't see this lah. This one maybe feng shui reason, some people don't like the moment you open the door, you straight away see the head sleeping down here, right? So I think that is one of the difference. On top of that, this thing is the killer for me. I don't like it. So basically it's all the wall that is protruding out. This one you don't get it. This one is actually full view. So to me, between D1 D2 is no brainer. I'll go for D1 already. Okay, so in terms of size, exactly the same, 1335 square feet. So now 4-bedder comparison. Okay, we are looking again Nava Grove versus Pinetree Hill. Okay, so for this case, right, Nava Grove is 1335. Pinetree Hill, like I mentioned earlier, some projects, the 4-bedder is slightly smaller. This one is actually at 1292, slightly smaller. Okay, we use the same kind of new launch day breakdown. From 2.5 to 2.7, you are looking at about 3.34 million to 3.61 million. But Pinetree Hill right now, there is actually units that is asking at slightly lower, $3.18 million. So in terms of, there is also a gap over here in terms of size. That's why in terms of pricing wise, it is slightly more attractive. But that is not the only reason why I choose Pinetree Hill. I mean, just take a look at the layout. For Nava Grove, right, the moment you enter from here, okay, number one, we don't even talk about the private lift, because Pinetree Hill, we actually get a private foyer and a private lift, even with the 1292 square feet. And I feel that in this whole area of Mount Sinai and the whole Pandan Valley area, a lot of people that come in here slightly a little bit more atas, they like this kind of treatment, like the very luxurious kind of treatment, private lift, exclusivity, facing GCB, facing the greenery. I think they are generally more towards that kind of vibe. So I think they will vibe better with the Pinetree here. But having said that, like, okay, for Nava Grove, you come in, you get your wet and dry kitchen. Yes, you still get them, but you don't have your private lift area. And over here, you actually get more of a portrait kind of layout, which is left and right. You feel that the whole living space may be slightly smaller because the balcony, the lights that come in is this area as compared to Pinetree Hill, which is way longer, right? Because they actually have a landscape kind of layout, which is over here. Personally, I like landscape layout because when you're having dinner and when you're eating here, you can turn on the TV. This is very important for me so that I can watch my TV while I'm eating. But of course, nowadays people also say you can just use your phone, right? So it depends on you, but most of the time this feels a little bit more luxury. More lights are coming in. So other than that, all the rooms pretty much tucked at one side. Okay, that is still pretty common. This one as well, 1, 2, 3, and then you have another bedroom over here. But of course, comparing to D2, this will win hands down because D2 the window is also smaller. At least D1 they give you a proper decent size. So for me is they give you a private lift with foyer. Kitchen is actually quite big and it comes with a yard and you have a secondary exit over here. Even though it's slightly smaller, but this gives me a more premium vibe as compared to Nava Grove. And looking at the price here, if I get such a premium feeling and layout and it's still cheaper as compared to Nava Grove, I would go for this Pinetree Hill one. Okay, so now let's move into 4-bedder dual key. So for 4-bedder dual key, I mean, we had a conversation with the whole team whether it is necessary. Actually, to me, dual key concept is a little bit more passé already. Usually when people buy in 4-bedder, it's actually more for own stay. They don't really want a specific corner out one area just to rent and earn rental income. I think their mindset is not so much for that. They just want it to be more luxurious, like the layout that I showed you earlier. Like the moment private foyer, you come in, you get a very big balcony, you get a very good view, front back living, like a landscape living. Not so much for this layout. I mean, come, let's look at this. You have a very big foyer here that is a lot of space wastage already, and this two thing you can't even hack. And then the moment you look inside, this whole living area just feels like a 2-bedder or a 3-bedder. Of course, granted that they give you a much bigger dining space. You have the dry and wet kitchen. Okay, this whole area, smaller study area, then it's just 3 rooms. So this feels like a compact 3-room to me. And then if your studio is over here, then you actually have a wasted balcony and balcony over here, because if you're renting it out, technically speaking, you don't need to give the balcony to your tenant but anyway, to me it's a bit of a wastage lah. And this whole wall, you can't hack, you can't change, so to me it's a bit wasted, unless you're telling me it's like multi-gen. Maybe you really want your parents to be staying here and then your family to be here, but you don't want it to be in the safe space, you just want to be connected by foyer. Okay, maybe understandable. But if you want to look into this just for renting out, I think not many people might be looking at Nava Grove area for a dual key lah. For 2 balconies, unhackable studio space, and a big shed foyer. And in terms of size, they are actually very big, 1,464, meaning to say the quantum will be much higher. Okay, so now let's compare this with just now the layout that we had earlier, which is we will compare this with 4-bedder premium because of the size. So Nava Grove 4 dual key, you're looking at 1,464 square feet. So we are looking at similar size for Pinetree Hill 4-bedder premium. Wow, this one is actually a very big difference really. Okay, so for Nava Grove, if you're looking at dual key, same concept, 2005 to 2007 PSF, you're looking at about 3.66 to about $3.95 million. Alright, but what if I can tell you, you can find a 4-bedder premium with lift. Dual key doesn't come with lift, yeah. This one with lift and a better layout at a much lower price, and you're not even on the lower side, you are in the mid-higher side. So for example, this one, just look at the layout itself, like, you can already see the difference. Like the moment you come, you take the private lift up, just imagine, and then your friends, when they visit you, is already a wow factor, come out from the foyer area. On top of that, you got the landscape kind of living with a big balcony, right? This is the best part over here. I would love to cook in this kitchen. I can be a full-time cook in this kitchen. So you have this kind of open concept kitchen, and you have an kitchen island, and this kind of very big open concept kitchen, I think is really, really rare in Singapore. Okay, even for 4 and 5 bedders, especially for newer condos these days, I think it's quite rare to have this concept. And then you have the yard area, storeroom tucked at the right side, we won't be looking at the storeroom, and then you have a secondary exit over here. Then all the bedrooms are actually over here, tucked at one side. Same thing, you actually, and for master bedroom, you even have a walk-in wardrobe. For this master bedroom, you don't have the walk-in wardrobe at all. Okay, that's why this feels more like a three-bedder. So in terms of layout-wise, wow, this is hands down really win already. And the junior master also, you got a Jack and Jill kind of bathroom. So in terms of layout, already win. In terms of price, you also win, right? And in terms of private premium with lift, 4-bedder premium with lift, this also wins. So comparing these two, this one will be the winner lah. Now let's look at 4-bedder premium. Okay, so 4 dual key, I think it's if you really need it for like multi-gen, maybe, but I think other than that, I would rather go for the 4 compact than the 4-bedder dual key. So now let's look at 4 premium. Okay, for Nava Grove, we actually have 2 different layout, pretty much almost identical. This time round for premium, yes, you actually finally get a private lift and also a private lift foyer. So actually you can tell because certain estate, they will actually, more developers will come up with this kind of private lift as compared to maybe certain estate, they don't really have this kind of private lift kind of concept, because behaviors of buyers in this area are always different. So you can tell that this area, a lot of buyers are actually looking more for the luxury feel, the atas vibe and all, right? So this one, the moment you come in from the private foyer already, you get, okay, it's still not as wide as compared to Pinetree Hill, but you do get a wider kind of frontage. So your living room is much bigger, but your dining is actually still at the side. You get quite a small dry kitchen and then a wet kitchen here, and you have a yard. This one, the difference is the master bedroom is pretty similar to the 4-bedder premium in Pinetree, whereby you actually get a his and hers. Alright, so in terms of facing wise, both of them are inner facing. Okay, so now let's compare this 4-bedder with private lift to the Pinetree Hill with private lift. Okay, same thing, the breakdown from $2,500 to $2,700, you are looking at 3.88 to about 4.19 as compared to just now the level 11 at 3.78. This one is really much cheaper. In terms of layout, I think I don't need to elaborate too much. This one, of course, you have the walk-in wardrobe. This one, you also have the walk-in wardrobe, fair enough. Private lift, you also have private lift, fair enough. But for this one, you actually get the junior master. This one, you don't have a junior master. Actually, this one you can consider because it's Jack and Jill, so you do get a junior master. So now let's compare the 4-bedder with private lift comparison for both Nava Grove and Pinetree Hill. Okay, so in terms of price breakdown, same logic. We are using 2,500 to 2,700 PSF. You are looking at about 3.88 mil range to about 4.19 mil range for Nava Grove. But for Pinetree Hill, currently the unit that we take, for example, is on the level 11. It's actually at 3.78 $2 million, which is actually lower than all of this over here. So in terms of price point, this is very attractive. But in terms of layout, I think hands down is still this layout. I really like the landscape over here. I like the full big kitchen. Over here, you still can do like transparent panel that maybe you can push all to one side, or you can do a sliding one, or you can keep it open. It's very rare to have this kind of like big and squarish kitchen. Actually, it's my dream. It's my dream. Because I'm a property agent, I've seen so many kitchen before, right? So every time when I see this kind of kitchen, like, okay, I got it, I get it. But this is like, wow, right? So I will still totally choose for this. So lastly, let's go for 5-bedder premium. For 5-bedder premium, actually I don't need to say too much about the layout. Again, if you want, I can actually send it to you. The only difference is the moment you come in here, of course you have, in the yard area you have a WC, but you actually have a powder room in this area, so that's additional. You have a storeroom, bomb shelter, you have a storeroom as well. On top of that, of course, the only difference is the 5th bedroom lah, whether is it necessary that you need the 5th bedroom or not. So that's pretty much the difference for 5-bedder. 5-bedder is actually located at this location over here. In my opinion, it's actually the best facing in the whole project, because you actually get the whole pool view. And then if you're looking forward to this area, it's actually the Clementi area. You're away from the noise, away from the road noise, you get the forested kind of view, and you still get the inner facing kind of view. So this is actually, of course, the developer also not stupid, right? They usually give like the best view, of course, the biggest bedder type. Okay, so now let's compare the 5 beta with private leaf from the Nava Grove and Pinetree Hill. So yes, Pinetree Hill also got 5 beta, and both of them comes with private leaf. But again, like this layout, I think hands down, I think I've spoken a lot on the 4 beta already. I really like this kitchen. So in terms of price breakdown, in terms of size, pretty similar, 1722 versus 1733, neck and neck. In terms of price breakdown, you're looking at about 4.3 million to about $4.649 million, okay, to get the Nava Grove 5 beta. But in terms of layout wise, I really like the 5 beta for Pinetree Hill because you do get a proper real walk-in kitchen, walk-in wardrobe instead of like a his and hers walk-in wardrobe kind of concept. So to me, this feels more like a full-fledged 5 beta, luxury 5 beta, because you get this kind of open concept island, you get a walk-in wardrobe, you get of course your private leaf and foyer lah, which you also get over here. So to me, if you can get something a bit cheaper over here, layout is better, then go for this. But of course by then Nava Grove launch, this one all sold out already, right? And you only have like maybe higher level, and this one in terms of price is more attractive. I think it's still quite neck and neck. I might still choose this depending on of course the budget that you have. So actually, having shared that, right, we've come to the end. But a lot of time when you make like a selection on the project itself, really a lot of time depends on like, you know, what's the price on the day itself, or on the day when you're buying. It can be not on the launch day, meaning to say post-launch. So it really depends on the price, and also like, you know, what is probably Pinetree Hill selling around that same price as well. So if you want to do that kind of in-depth comparison on the spot and you don't want to make a wrong decision, you can always reach out to me. My contact is over here. And then till then, I will probably be doing Chuan Park next, and then of course Emran of Katong. So stay tuned, and I hope you guys continue to like this content. Thank you so much. Bye.